Good morning, good morning, good morning. Monday market update, Fed Week edition. Thanks for joining us. I've got Nash Paradise, the Loan Wizard, with me today. I'm Matt Gouget, Matt the Mortgage Guy. A couple of mortgage professionals just happen to have real estate and mortgage conversations daily for a combined 3+ decades, I believe, if you put us together. What are you, Nash, 20 years?
I will be 20 years next year, so we're a few months away. Once we hit 2026, that's my 20-year mortgage anniversary.
Okay, yeah, I got 12 years in. So we
We're
just
good.
have these conversations every Monday because, besides news that you may read, that you may or may not understand, we're in the trenches. We're having conversations every single day, and so we want to share with you, the word on the street, if you will. And the word on the street is this week is a big week in mortgage because we got the Fed meeting. It's I feel like it's one of the most anticipated meetings in a while. Like, I know more people are talking about this meeting when it comes to like the average consumer, real estate agent, the people in our world. So let's break it down, man. What does it mean for mortgage? What does it mean for the market? What says you, Mr. Nash Paradise?
Yeah, man, let's get right into the nitty-gritty and talk about what's going on in the econ data, because like you said, we definitely have a lot more depth and coverage on this Fed meeting. It's become pretty highly politicized lately. And like you said, the average consumer is paying more attention to what's going on, or at least hearing more about what's going on. But let's talk about what has really mattered. More significant than the Fed meeting this week is what happened last week. So we had circled on our calendar Thursday. Thursday was a huge day. We had the month-over-month core CPI. We had year-over-year core CPI, headline CPI. This is your inflation. Inflation is huge. Inflation is what's going to move the needle on the Fed now and in the future. But we also got jobless claims and continued claims. It was a banging Thursday. And what happened was a lot of nothing, a lot of straight tape. So we did go up a little bit on inflation. The month-over-month core, it reads 0.3 on a 0.3 forecast, but it's not really 0.3%. Rounding in this month-to-month is significant because I think it came out to like 0.343. So we were very close to hitting a 0.4, which wouldn't have been very good. We need inflation to stay in line while jobs are weak in order to drop interest rates, drop the Fed funds rate, make life cheaper. The jobs numbers seemingly have been more important lately because they've been coming up short. If you'll remember from our MMU last week, we talked about the week prior where we had the employment data came out a lot lighter than we thought. This is still supported. Thursday, we had jobless claims coming at 263,000 off a forecast of 235. So we're having more jobless claims than expected. Continued claims are in line with where they have been. So jobs are sluggish. They're not like falling off tremendously, but they're sluggish while inflation is staying put. Cool. Well, let's talk about what we've got this week. And like I said, you might as well erase everything and just put the Fed. Wednesday, September 17th, we have Fed decision. The Tuesday data is, it's cool. Retail sales are neat. Nothing big is anticipated or expected on those. It should be just slightly growing, but the Fed interest rate decision on Wednesday, it is a foregone conclusion that we're going to be dropping 25 basis points. The chances of a bigger drop are like less than 4%. So I don't see that happening. It's not going to happen. We will drop from 4.5 to 4.25 on the overnight average from the Fed. impacts your short-term loans, impacts your bond pricing. It's going to impact a lot of things that don't directly impact mortgage, but the stuff that does impact the Fed rate decision also impacts mortgage rates. That's why mortgage rates have been sliding as we've been getting in line for this Fed rate drop. So moving on, let's talk about Fed and rates. This is cool. I mean, we talk about this every week, and it's neat to see the changes week over week. But we're getting a nice little stair step here. So, 94.3% of a quarter drop. It's actually jumped up to 5.6% from this morning on a half.
So you're saying there's a chance?
No, I'm not. No.
That's 1 in 20. You know what? I was going to make a bad joke, man, but that's like Cowboys making it to the Super Bowl. Like some people hold on faith, like a 5% chance says there's a chance.
Can I mute you from here like a Teams meeting or no?
They won yesterday. Go Cowboys, man! That was a fun game to watch.
You picked a great
for
your mic to be working. Can we go back to your Temu microphone and your dial-up internet like last week? That'd be great.
Oh man, this thing's going off the rails. Let me say something real quick too, because I people, you understand it at a high level, and great information for the average person. What they should understand when you talk about unemployment numbers being up, economic numbers hurting, think of lower rates as a steroid for the economy. And like when the economy's sputtering, not a lot of, activity in the jobs market, and, what the Fed can do, one of their tools is inject this steroid. Then, like you said, you went by it and I was like, oh, I don't know if people understand that. Like, you can inject that steroid to boost up the economy. It creates action, money moves, all that good stuff. But you can't do it if inflation is too high, because it also adds that steroid, to inflation. And so, long story short, for people that are like, I want lower rates, I want, to be able to get a 5% fixed rate on my mortgage, realize that in order to do that, you're going to have to see the economy stuttering a little bit. So I don't know. I just wanted to interject that because I think some people, they want a simplified version of how that all works.
And people want everything. They want jobs to be good, they want inflation to be low, and they want rates to be low. And unfortunately, those three things don't work together like that. There used to be for years and years and years, you just have this ebb and flow. When money is cheap, it gets printed more, which means it gets spent more, which drives up inflation, which adds jobs because now you need more people because more product is being sold, more things are being manufactured, employment numbers look good. When money gets more expensive, companies spend less, consumers spend less, everyone spends less, helps bring inflation down a little bit, and it has been coming down a little bit, but we lose jobs. So the Fed's dual mandate of maintaining employment and, managing this Fed funds rate, like those things are tricky. They have to manage inflation and jobs, and those things tend to work in opposites of each other. So it's always a little up, a little down, but we are forecasting an 82% chance of 3 drops by the end of the year. That will make national news. That's something that everyone's going to hear about. You need to know how to talk about it. And, I think we've given you a lot of the why, how this stuff works. The fact that inflation is steady and jobs are bad means that the Fed is going to cut rates. 82% chance 3 times by the end of the year. 3 cuts in a row is going to be interesting. We had that last year. Mortgage rates went up. But again, we were in a election cycle, fall season, just like we are now. We got a little bit more knowledge of what's coming. So I don't necessarily think mortgage rates are going to shoot up with this. I think we could stay on a flat trajectory. I'd love to see them go lower. We'll see. 10-year Treasury bond is hitting resistance. But from that, looking into next year, another 3 cuts scheduled next year. So 72% chance that we see 6 cuts over the next 12 months-ish. Let's call it 15 months. But through the end of next year, 6 total cuts. It's very interesting. But what people actually care about, what they're here for, is what's going on with mortgage rates. So let's pop slides here. And Maddie, if you want to tell us what we're looking at.
Old Mortgage News Daily seems to be the default, which I think is good. The only warning before I jump into rates is realize everyone's scenario is different. If you're getting a DSCR loan, if you're doing investment versus primary, if your credit score is 625 and you're looking at somebody's, rate that's a 780, rates are personalized, but this gives you a good general idea of where the 30-year fixed rate conventional is. It probably costs something to get this, rate that's like the most common rate or whatever the metric is for Mortgage News Daily. But, as you can see, rates came down quite a bit to 6.29. One thing I want to touch on too, because rates are low, a lot of opportunity for people who bought in the last couple of years to refinance. I think Nash made a great point when he talked about some people should be looking at the 15, 20-year term. I literally just recorded a video a few days ago that's going to be on my YouTube channel in the next couple of days on like, yeah, I can save you $350 a month if you go back to a 30-year, but what if we go to a 20-year? It's only $100 more than your current payment when you got 28 years left. Save 8 years and $200,000, like literal scenario that I just went through with the client. So, with all that out of the way, in this like current moment in time where rates are down, a lot of people are looking at refinance. What you should always remember is that there's no guarantee of the future, right? In life in general. And so I pulled that Mortgage News Daily thing back 3.5 years to show people March of 22 through current. We literally like went down to 6%. It shot up down to 6%, shot like we haven't been able to break that floor. And so somebody who in 2022 had an opportunity for one reason or another to get a loan at 6% or refinance a loan at 6% and said, no, I'm going to wait until they're lower. They're still waiting 3.5 years later. And so like, it's just to say, if you're a constant waiter, it's got to get a little bit better, that could hurt you. But enough about refinance. I'd love to get your opinion on what these rates mean for purchase, Nash, because you're, talking to agents daily like I am. You're talking to, consumers out in the market. I feel like slowly but surely this cohort of sideline buyers are kind of waking up and they're starting to get excited. It doesn't coincide with the normal buying market, but I think this fall is going to be busier than usual, especially if things continue and we get, 6%, sub 6%, people are buying it down to 5.75. What are you seeing out there in the purchase market?
So I would title this as, right person, right place, right time, right now. And I had a couple conversations yesterday, which I normally don't do anything on Sundays, but I had some good referrals from some friends of mine. And, she's a teacher, so it just made more sense to talk yesterday afternoon. And so I'm talking to a lot of people who were already thinking about it, already interested, a lot of first-time home buyers, a lot of people that, would be buying in this fall market if it made sense anyway. The rates where they are, where they've fallen, they're great for the people that already were interested in buying. They have not gone down far enough to push the people that weren't necessarily looking at buying into the market. That's going to take a 30-year fix that starts with the number 5. That's just my opinion, but I've seen enough market cycles to know that 6.25 versus 6.75, that's not going to get someone off the sideline and get rid of their, current 2.75%. We get down to the 5s, you're going to have a few more people making considerations there. We still have markets all across the country that have limited inventory, but the inventory that they have, it has been dropping. It's been sitting. There's lots of availability of credits and concessions on those. So if you can, it's going to look good for a lot of people buying at the right price points in the right markets. But, as disappointing as it is, I don't think agents and loan officers having these conversations right now is not necessarily going to be enough yet as we get into the end of the fall buying season. But if we can get in front of the right kind of people, especially with the Fed rate drop, people think, oh, that affects mortgage rates and now it should be cheaper. So we're going to be having more conversations post Fed drops. So that's going to be good because we're going to be able to help some of these people understand, hey, yeah, you're a first-time home buyer, you got some cash, you're ready to go. We need to go before too many more buyers show up in the marketplace. But I do think it's going to be a steady trickle throughout fourth quarter to first quarter of buyers limping in. And if we can stay at these levels or improve a little bit by spring, we could finally see a 2026 that looks like a normal buying season.
Yeah, I agree with you too, where it's not like this big shock where you get a million new buyers who raise their hand and go get pre-approved. But I'm sure you see it in your business, like I see it in my business. People reach out or people get referred. You get pre-approved, you go through the numbers. They're like, you know what? For one reason or another, they pressed pause over the last 6 months, 12 months. I think it's unpause for a lot of those buyers who were looking, were somewhat interested. They're able to buy and they're qualified to buy. They just weren't willing for one reason or another. And sometimes, you know, the seasoning period is longer for somebody who's going to buy. Having those rates come down is enough of a, you know, pullback for some people to go, okay, yeah, sweet. Like the market is still not super competitive. And so I don't have to bid against 14 people to buy a house, and rates are 0.25% lower than when I originally got pre-approved. Like, yeah, let's re-engage. Let's get out there with the agent and start looking at homes.
100%. And that leads me to my final thought, my final takeaway. This is for the real estate professionals and mortgage loan officers who are watching this. It's very tempting to focus on that low hanging fruit, which is, hey, who can I refi? Who can I save some money? Throw them into a 15 or 20 year. And I love that. We need to be having those conversations, but professionals in real estate are very emotional and we go after what we're excited about. What we need to be excited about right now is calling those people, like Matt said, 6 months ago, they got pre-approved, a year ago, they were looking, they haven't since. We need to make sure to touch base with those people, let them know what's going on ahead of the Fed decision, before you're too busy fielding phone calls about, should I refinance my 6.5% rate? We need to get in front of those buyers because it's a longer sales cycle. They need to re-engage if it makes sense. They need updated numbers. And we're not doing our jobs as professionals if we're not taking care of those people and sharing the information that we have so they can make the best decision for their family.
True. I'm gonna try to do both. I'm gonna try to talk to all the people looking to buy, and also as much refinance as possible while the while the getting's there. So thanks for your time, brother. We shall meet again next week. Have yourself a fine week. And if anybody needs anything from us, you should be able to find us on the interwebs.
We're a Google away. Appreciate you, homie. Yep. Take care.
All right. Thanks, buddy.